Welcome to my summary and closeout for this review video series. In this video, I'm just going to go over any sort of changes or things that I've noticed after the last 19 months while doing remote viewing. You may or may not relate to these, but I thought I'd share them anyway. But my first note is that of all the videos that I've done for the review, the impressions that I get, I've collected over a long period of time. I just wanted to make a point that I don't get all the impressions that I learn in every session. I just want to set that expectation that once I discover a new impression, I don't get it every other time after that. I would love to, but I'm sort of the school of you get what you get, and that's about it. So over the last 19 months, those are the kinds of impressions or types of impressions that I've had. So it's been awesome. But on that note, let's go through the changes. So I've got about 10 things to talk about. The first one being is the reasons for the channel. So basically, the reason I created the channel to post up my sessions was number one, just to keep a record of it. I don't have a lot of money for IT gear, and free storage on YouTube or on the cloud is a really good idea. And so I thought, I've got a lot of sessions to do. What's one way of doing it? Put it in the cloud. And and I've not paid a cent yet. So woohoo, let's keep it going. So one, to record. Two, to measure. So what I mean by measuring is by the fact that if anything were to come of this journey of remote viewing, I was thinking that I had to try and find a way to measure my improvement in my abilities, whatever showed up, whatever happened. At least I'd have a visual record of it. And I might have examples of the ability changing as it goes through. So creating measures or trying to identify at least a measure that I could apply to my learning. And and number three was basically insights. So from insights, I mean either from myself, where I review my videos, my sessions for particular subjects or structures, the ones that you remember a lot of. You can go back and remember those sessions. Or for insights for anybody else who might be on this journey as well, and just wants to see what other people are doing, really honestly. And not a lot of people are posting stuff about their sessions, either for free or behind some sort of registration. You're kind of like that person at the gym who's wondering whether or not they should join it, and they just want to have a look through the window. And for this, RV, you only see a few people. You just wish you had more information. There's a lot on the history, there's a lot on tour instructions. There's just not a lot of examples that I found anyway. So I thought, if anyone wants to see my sessions, they're out there laid bare. And that's it pretty much. And so those three are the main reasons why, is to record them for whoever, for myself, because it's cheap. Measure, find a way to measure any ability, or at least record it for video purposes, and insights for anyone. Okay, the next one is the no naming rule. So no naming rule inside the CRV and TDSRV, where you don't name the objects or targets in your session, you actually try and describe them, which is a great idea. What I found was I started not labeling people. So, you know, applying it to people, gangs, bad people, undesirables, you know, anything that wants to set you apart from everybody else, really. So that pretty much seeped in there, and I don't like labeling people anymore, and I like that. Just makes it less assumptions and less anxiety. Newspapers love it because it's just labels all through newspapers, and that's why everyone gets stressed out when they read it. So it's all lumped in, all these assumptions. I'm like, don't need it. So no naming rule, excellent rule. Yeah, totally believe in it. Anyway, next one, stress management has not been easier. Stress management has been really well. I seem to identify escalating situations and escalations in my emotion. And I thoroughly believe meditation has a lot to do with that. Simply because I'm just a lot more calmer and yeah. So stress management has been a lot easier. Yeah, that's about it. Next one, brick walls. So what I mean by brick walls, there'll be moments when in your learning when you'll have maybe a few weeks where your intuition's just off, nothing's going right. You seem to have some frustration and stress. I did a lot, and it seemed to be accompanied by a certain question about myself. I don't know, sort of like, oh, what did I have? Do you really want to do this? You know, what if it's getting serious and that sort of stuff, and you sort of have like a moment where you have to sort of give, I don't know, you sort of have to make a choice about something, and for some reason everything comes right. But basically, I've had about 3 cycles of these brick walls where you just sort of practice, and for some reason nothing's happening right. Best advice, even though you don't want to practice because you know how bad the session's going to be, keep practicing through it. That's the only advice I can give. Maybe give it a day or 2, you know, space them out a bit more so they can sort of recover somewhat. But keep practicing, just not as intensely. Try and vary the intensity of it, maybe. I don't know. When I had mine, I just practiced through them. I did decrease the amount of sessions because I just didn't want to be disappointed so much and so often. So you go through them. Now that I know, or I can identify those moments or periods where nothing's going right, I just keep practicing because I know it'll come out on the other side better. My last one, I'm feeling more detail in my impressions, especially my internal sort of structured type stuff. I've never had those type of internal impressions before, but after my last sort of brick wall, just a little bit more details coming through on my impressions, and it's really working well. So just keep going at it, let it evolve, whatever it's doing. Just don't stop. Don't throw in the bucket. Don't give up. Just don't do so many. Give yourself a break. Okay, so brick walls. Okay, another one. Misses and failures. So the misses and failures is the notion of, oh, you got to get it right all the time. You know, that's a miss, that's a hit, that's a hit. Okay, so what do I got? Misses and failures. I don't really subscribe to misses and failures and hits and that sort of concept of right and wrong. Over this practice, over these 19 months, really, you can develop a lot of anxiety around what's a hit and what's a miss in your impressions. What actually really matters to me, and what I've learned, is what you can verify in the photo, what you haven't verified in the photo. So, let me elaborate. If you have impressions and you're able to find their place and purpose within the target feedback and you count that as a hit, great, that's awesome. The other side of that coin is not a case of a miss, but a sort of development quality issue with the signal. So what I'm saying is, you may feel something that may not equate to anything in your picture by the way you perceive it, but doesn't mean that that impression that you got was all the way 100% accurate, because your ability is all the way 100% awesome and you get things right regardless. So, okay, so bit of humor going on there. So what I'm really saying is, if you perceive a miss in your session, who's to say that that miss is actually in your feedback, but your development of that impression hasn't reached a point where you would feel that accurately or understand that impression as it really is in the feedback. I have a recent example of this. Do I? I sort of do. In my colours review, I get the colours, but now it's changing, and I see 3 colours ziggy-zagging in my view. I got the colours down, that's fine, but I got shapes as well, designs. I wrote that down. In the feedback, it comes up as, it's basically a clown suit with blue and red polka dots in it. So it's totally not like the image that was presented to me. How do I know that's not the motion? So I might look at that initially and say, oh, that's not right, that's a miss. But the guy might be jumping up and down. And if, you know how those lights and polka dots can sort of, if there was a light, you can see shadows of lightning when people jump up and down? Could be that, I don't know. But how do you know the way you perceive things are as perceived as in the photo? You don't. So what I'm getting at is, with this hit and misses sort of decision making, I don't want to adopt it to a point where a miss is where I think I must disregard that impression going forward, and that behavior might create auto filtering in your head going, oh, you know, that doesn't happen, you know, it's an auto filter, get it out of here. Or your subconscious might go, hey, or, you know, you don't want to create constraints to the connection that you have by applying concepts by other people. Well, not other people, but other perceptions. So the reason why I'm really talking about this is because over the last 19 months, I've not had anyone guiding me or teaching me how to do things. I've just been trying to experience and discover and explore this remote viewing. And I've not had anyone to say, you know, that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong, that's right. I've had to systematically and I don't know, methodically go through the motions and actually try and understand what I was feeling and actually map it and not discard anything, but take everything as a whole, regardless of going, oh, that's hard structure. Yes, that's a hit. Actually, you know, all the impressions that you get for me means something in that photo. And that's what's important for me at the end of the day, is if I can take in and then map the what I think are the hits in the photo. I don't disregard anything. I see them as things that I haven't nailed the impressions down on yet. It's a question of quality of my ability to pick them up and the ability of what's being perceived by myself. So pretty much that, my perception or the quality of my perception. So I suppose that's a good thing that you just go on. I'm just going on this journey and discovering these things slowly and methodically as I go. And and I think it's a great pace, and it's been enjoyable. Anyway, so there's my hits and misses, misses and failures. They don't really exist. It's what you feel and what was felt, but you couldn't picture inside your feedback. But you're not going to disregard it because it might be elsewhere outside of that feedback. It might be at the site, you know? So yeah, next topic is getting better. I hate to say it, it's just more practice. There's no way to get around it. Maybe have a better cool down if you can zero in on that, on your state when you're doing your sessions. I find that when I really sort of calm myself really deeply, every sort of change you feel a lot more acutely. Was the recent one I did was filling in some concrete bases, and I could feel it, just felt like my chest was just expanding out. But you wouldn't feel that in an active when your awareness is all over the place. But when you really concentrate it and you just really monitor your body, you can sort of feel the details. So I think that's where the next step is get more detail. So getting better, practice more, practice. You want to get better, more practice. Next topic. I was going to say better communicator. When you're talking to people, you're more aware, you seem to be more focused on them. I don't know, your awareness is like everything that you're focused on. I just happen to be focused on a lot of things lately. Rather than just sort of all over the place, you just seem more intentful with your actions. You know, you don't sort of have stray thoughts about stuff. You know, I don't know. It just seems things a bit more guided, more direction, motivated. Anyway, motivation. Okay. So yeah, motivation. It's definitely on learning more. Learning a lot more, not really in a fast way, but in a more spread out way. But I'm happy with what I can perceive at the moment, and I'm happy with the way it's growing. Still want to win lotto, but you know, money is not really that important at the moment. It is, but it's not. But you know, it's just, you just want to learn more. You're sort of hungry for more. You're hungry for those impressions. You're hungry for the firsts. 19 months on, I'm still hungry for more, really. Different but safe targets. You just want to continue on. It's part of my life. Visions and impressions. Okay, so many times when I was early in my learning, probably between 3 months starting. No, I don't get them as much now, but you will get visions. I got visions, sort of like snapshots. Just by, like, I'm watching TV, and next thing I'm feeling impressions through my arm and through my legs, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, it kind of startled me a few times. Then after that, it was just sort of normal. Just sort of, okay, what's going on? And you try and connect to it, and you try and see things, and use it as a learning opportunity, and try and figure out what the hell is going on. Visions, more like snapshots, where I might be drawing, I do some of this art here, and I get visions, sort of like snapshots, in the middle of doing these guys, and I've drawn the images and put them on the back. But yeah, you just get things that trigger you off. I don't know what things. Art definitely does. Like if you're doing drawing and anything like that, you'll get visions. You might get impressions going through your arm. You might feel like you're floating. You know, you're engaged in a session for some reason. Sorry about that wobble. But yeah, get snapshots. You close your eyes, and you can see all these objects and shapes and that sort of thing. Yeah, watching TV. You feel cold wind going down your arms and legs, and you're wondering what the hell's going on. So you'll get that. But once I think you start practicing, and then you start getting a better way of controlling it, I think I suppress it more because I don't get them as often as I used to. Actually, I can't remember when I had my last one, but yeah, they used to happen all the time. So impressions feel like, so just some simple examples, like heaviness, when it affects part of your body, it feels like that part of your body is like really heavy, like it's affected by gravity more, and as you're coming to your arm or your hand, this just feels like it's pressing down into the table a bit more than the rest of your body. It's usually accompanied by some sort of form, like your arm feels a certain way, right? But your arm represents a different form. You can feel like it's like an energy, like a shape of a different form of energy, or energy form. Like it might be a square. Depending on your perception, it might be just like a big square block or concrete block where it's heavy and it feels sunken into the ground. You can feel the earth underneath, or the ground underneath, pressing into that object. It just feels like that your arm has become that object, and you're perceiving it as best you can with your ability. So it's not 100%, like you can tell the different details, and you can tell grout and what color things are and that sort of detail. For me, it's basically just one big giant block, and it's really heavy and it's sunken into the ground. You can feel the basic physics of it. For structures inside buildings, it feels like your arm, and like you might get impressions where it's like a thickness. It feels really thick in the middle of the arm, like now when you're trying to perceive your arm, you don't feel the bone in it. You know the bone's there, and you might, you can twist your arm, you can sort of feel the thickness of the bone, while the impression of a beam or something solid, like a solid straight thing inside your arm, it feels like a lot more obvious. It feels thick. It feels like it has the properties of the object or the target that you're trying to target, and I believe it is. Excuse me. And it just feels like a thickness, and sometimes heaviness accompanies that. You also get the forms where your arm, it may not feel like it may look like your arm, but it doesn't feel like your arm at all. It feels like something else, and you don't really feel the physics of your real world arm anymore. It's sort of like you're in that state where you're feeling the physics of that target. You're feeling the density of that target. You're feeling the weight of that target. You might be even feeling the texture of that target. But it really depends on your perception of that target. So I believe that the more practice you do, the more engaged your awareness and perception is of the target. So you're only really engaging so much, a percentage of your awareness when you're doing this thing, and that's why you practice so much, so you can capture more. As your awareness grows, you're perceiving lots more things in the world, and you're bringing a lot of that into the mix when you do your sessions, and that's why it evolves and changes. That's my take anyway. So structures, beams feel like thickness and heaviness inside your arms. I've felt fountains, collections of water in my body. So I've moved around in the session, and I think it's bloody important, but yet to still be able to do that is involve movement in my sessions. When I was a fountain, I wriggled around and I could feel water sloshing within inside me, like sloshing. Water sloshing from the fountain. And that freaked me out. And that basically told me physics from this world affects the target, can affect the perception of the target within our body and affect it with our real world physics sort of thing. So movement is important, but yet to see any examples out there on how to engage in this sort of meaningful movement in order to help your perceptions with remote viewing. If you guys got any ideas around the movements or techniques and that sort of stuff, please let me know. As far as perceptions, impressions, they just get more detailed as you practice them. Just keep practicing them, You retrieve more detail as you practice. I think it's just that awareness thing again. The more you practice, the more you engage your awareness and bring that into the factor. And when you make that connection, you make it more of a connection than last time. And you do that with practice. It just gets more detailed. So I'm getting more finer impressions, more detailed impressions when I get them, and I'm able to describe them better because of it. It's no longer just a big solid rock of something. It's now a rock with something inside it. That sort of detail, it may not go down to its smoothness or anything, but everything's an improvement anyway going forward. Just makes sense. It gets more detailed. Even now with my impressions in my sessions, I still don't know what the final picture will sort of look like. I haven't practiced my summary, and that will come, and I'm sure that it would help my perceptions a bit if I was able to structure out my feedback and my outcomes, my impressions to feedback. I'm sure there's a learning level there that needs to be had as well. But just getting more detailed. That's it. Getting around to the last points. Make it fun. Make small games if you have to. If you're getting bored with the long sessions, cut out, make 5-minute games, make 15-minute games. Keep it interesting. It will wear on you, but the fact that you're adaptable and flexible, you can do these things, and it does work. You might actually learn things from them, from those little games. Variety's the spice of life, and in RV, it's hella true. Just to give you an example of that, so I've got 5-minute state of card games, make out the card. I've got the bus trips, so I do a short form, which is basically just stage 1, 2, and 3, 1-pager on a target, and that takes half an hour on the bus and train. So I do that 2 times a week, two times a week. And you're in different environments, you got different challenges, and guess what? Your body will adapt to them, and you will learn from those adaptations. So one of the adaptations that I've learned by doing it on the train, first time on the train, smells, noise everywhere, hard to concentrate, bloody difficult as hell. Just push through it, and got some impressions. Really? It makes you struggle. It makes you try and pinpoint those bloody impressions. You really start searching. You really do start searching for those impressions. You're looking. I saw things in layers, and I'm looking things in between layers, and I've seen so many layers because it's now mixed in with all the stink and stuff from the train and bus and the noise, and I've got all these inputs coming in, and it's sort of like filtering through all this sort of what the hell? Oh, what's that guy? Boom. So there's a lot of judgment involved, and it's really hard to do when you're beginning. But now that I've gone on for at least a month or so now, the real world stuff, like the smells and the noise and the perception of that environment, it's sort of gone down. So when I'm smelling, when I'm hearing, I perceive, if it's in front of me, it's here, it's around me. Now when I go into the session state, it sort of moves everything over here. So it keeps it there, but it just sort of moves it, muffles it to just over here, and then I get all the impressions all around here. And like I'll get it when I do smell, I get the real world smells. They're about here in front of me. You know, you can identify them in that perception, and then you got a smell over here from your target. Or you got a perception of an impression or a word or an image, and they're appearing in different areas around you. So your body seems to know that you're not interested in the real world stuff, you know, where you're doing the session in, like the train or the bus or wherever, or whatever interruptions are there. It sort of keeps it locked there, not locked, keeps it sort of over there, and all the impressions still happen in your body. They start coming through a lot more, and the other impressions is like you can smell stuff there, but when you're smelling for your impression, sometimes it's over here, it's up here, it's over there. Like the impressions show up over there, not as a smell over here in front of you, but as an impression or a memory over here or over there. It's really weird. But what it has meant is that my impressions are getting better in the train and the buses with my short form, and I'm really enjoying it, the sessions, because they're quicker and faster. The pace is just the maximum of 30 minutes, enough to get from wherever I am to town and work. It has to fit in there. So I know there's pace to the session, so it's boom, 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 boom. So you're pacing yourself, and you're setting that pace for the impressions and stuff as well. And it seems to move in pace, so it seems to go okay. So loving the short form and loving the cards. You know, you're just filling in spaces of time in your day with something that you like to do, basically. So yeah, that's basically that one is just make it fun. Make it fun. All the content creators of remote videos, Daz and all those other guys, thank you. Simply for the fact that now that I've done all these videos, I know how much energy goes into making these bloody things. Couple of hours for the recording, couple of hours for the upload, couple of hours for the rendering, maybe an hour or two for the posting. I know now why not many people post their videos, because once you have a system, it's better, but it's still a lot of energy. But a note on that: if you have a system, make the system work for you. So I review the videos because I have to review them and render them and all that. So I see them about 2 to 3 times at the most critical points in creating those maps. So I review them often before I even post them up, and I use that to review everything about my sessions. And so I think that's helped a lot in my sessions as well. It's just that learning and support frame and platform to just review my stuff and just get with it more and be able to see it, do it, feel it again, and all that sort of stuff. So thank you, content creators. I know how much energy goes into this. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. So guys, I'll leave it at that, and I'm going back to posting videos. And yeah, this is probably the 12th, 13th time I've done this bloody video, and I always stuff it up, but never, no more. I'm not editing shit either. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Keep practicing. Thank you for joining me on this review. Probably see you in a year's time and see what else has changed. All right, see ya.